a lot of Brazilians don't have to learn salesmanship. Just you know it.
You know it.
And
yeah.
so they can couple those two talents together and do better. And they may not be as great with the TikTok, which younger guys, which is the Brazilian marketer right now in direct response, they understand.
A espera acabou, o suspense acabou. Se você acompanha a gente, você sabe que no começo de todo episódio a gente tava falando aí, fazendo um suspense em relação à plataforma que ia se lançar no mercado, né? Pra você vender ali Info, Nutra ou como afiliado lá fora, ganhando em dólar. E esse momento chegou agora. A plataforma que a gente tanto falava era em relação à Octuspay. A Octuspay que já existe no mercado há um tempo, há um ano, né? Mais precisamente. Só que agora ela tá fazendo um relançamento, um relaunch ali com a versão 2.0 do checkout deles e a versão 2.0 da interface, né, a plataforma no geral. E agora, com os novos adquirentes que eles estão colocando para dentro, a conversão de cartão, assim, vai explodir, vai aumentar demais e vai ficar igual ou até melhor que as plataformas lá de fora, tá? Só que tem uma diferença, que a Octus, ela tem um molhinho brasileiro, né? Você vai conseguir aprovar os seus produtos com a mesma rapidez que as plataformas brasileiras, só que para vender pra gringa, né? O que você não consegue achar hoje no mercado. Se você fatura pelo menos 10 mil dólares por mês, ou ali 50, 40 mil reais com um produto bom, é só chamar a gente ali, né? Chamar ali o BizDev da Octus, que vai dar o segmento para você abrir a sua conta na plataforma. Sem contar também que eles criam um grupo por cliente, então um atendimento super personalizado. Bora lá? Só clicar aqui no primeiro link da descrição. Imagina se eu fizesse um churrasco, e nesse churrasco eu vou chamar os maiores players do digital, aqueles que você não consegue encontrar em eventos, é difícil de você chegar neles, aqueles que têm um conteúdo mais high level do mercado. E nesse churrasco a gente vai estar ali trocando ideia, batendo papo, fazendo networking sobre assuntos que ninguém mais fala, naquele clima de amigo mesmo, nada de evento, não, vai ser um churrasco entre amigos. Então deixa eu te perguntar, você gostaria de estar lá com a gente? Pela primeira vez eu vou abrir a oportunidade de alguns de vocês estar lá nesse ambiente com a gente, porque é o seguinte, agora o formato do podcast vai mudar um pouco. A gente vai começar a uma vez por mês alugar uma mansão, uma casa maravilhosa, chamar vários players do digital, fazer um churrasco e ali no meio do churrasco fazer os episódios com eles, trocar ideia, falar sobre o mercado e você pode estar lá com a gente também. E como essa vai ser a primeira edição desse churrasco do digital, então se você consegue vir para São Paulo, você quer estar nessa experiência junto com a gente, é só clicar aqui no segundo link da descrição. Lembrando, né, que por ser ali a primeira edição desse churrasco que a gente vai fazer, a gente vai estar cobrando infinitamente mais baratos que a gente vai cobrar para os próximos, então aproveita essa oportunidade. E também fazendo aqui uma observação, que não vai ser todo mundo que vai poder comprar. Depois de você clicar aqui no segundo link da descrição, você vai ter que preencher ali um formulário, tá? E se você estiver apto, alguém do nosso time vai te chamar para você participar, porque não vai ser algo aberto pro mercado, vai ser algo mais intimista, justamente para criar esse relacionamento e essa amizade com os maiores players. Fechou? Tamo junto, bora pro episódio. Valeu! Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite a todos e todas que estão aqui em mais um episódio do Chris e Greg Podcast. Hoje, como vocês podem ver aqui, estou sozinho, meu co-host me abandonou, tô brincando. Elias Braslu está no batismo do nosso amigo Gabriel Fraza. Inclusive, estou muito feliz por ele, que está sempre com a gente aqui. Hoje estou com uma figura incrível com a gente, tá? Ele é um dos responsáveis por botar aí a América Latina, o Brasil no mapa dos suplementos aí de Nutra para fora do Brasil, né? A gente vai fazer um podcast em inglês hoje, então depois de eu pegar aqui e terminar essa apresentação em inglês, a gente vai começar em português, a gente só vai falar em inglês, vai ter a legendinha aqui embaixo para vocês acompanharem, beleza? So, hey Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, doing great. It's good to be here, man. It's good to be in Brazil.
Yeah.
I was hoping it would be a little bit sunnier today. It's like pretty rainy and chilly. When I think of Brazil, I think of beaches, and I'm getting the winter treatment now.
Yeah, so it's really cold. It's not like we are used to.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird, yeah. So tell me more about you, man. Who is Alex?
Yeah, man. So my name is Alex Gano. It's sort of hard to pronounce. Most Brazilians can't say it right. It's Gano, but it's French.
Yeah.
So it's spelled Gunoe.
Gunoe.
Yeah. And so I represent a couple of companies, and what we try to do is provide infrastructure to marketers to be able to sell internationally. A lot of times the marketers can sell domestically because they know companies that can support them. And so we try to do this all in one package. We can help you with supplement manufacturing.
Cool.
We can help you with the drop shipping. We can help you with the customer service, the phone sales, back-end email monetization. Really, we can do most of it, right? We say when we talk about our business, ELE Labs, but really it's this group of family of businesses that do this all together.
Cool. Yeah, besides like the supplement company, what other services do you provide?
Right. So we do the manufacturing with the company Eagle Labs. We provide drop shipping, so logistical warehousing and fulfillment to Europe, to the U.S., to any tier one country really, Latin America.
Cool.
Theoretically, you could send to Brazil, but it would get stopped at the aduana. But yeah, so that's full stack.
Okay.
Right? Full stack fulfillment. And then we have Talk Solutions that provides customer service, email, SMS, phone. They also can handle sales. So abandoned carts, people who don't purchase from you, they'll spend 7 days texting them, emailing them, and calling them,
Yeah.
hunting them. Basically everything except for go to their house to try to close the sale.
Cool. Yeah.
And then after the sale's done, you can create a whole portfolio of supplements, a family of brands, and then they can upsell people. And so they can call for a confirmation coaching call and say, you offer that as a bonus, is buy 3 bottles and get a free coaching call. And then they get this coaching call with a guy who jump on and talk about the problems and say, okay, well, besides just blood sugar issues, you're also dealing with nerve pain because that's common for people with blood sugar. And so let's get you some nerve pain supplements.
Cool.
And so that's Talk Solutions, and they do that. Besides that, right, that's what we do. We also are very connected throughout the international marketing world.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other things that we can help. If we don't provide the service, we definitely know the person that does. And so sometimes there's processing. People need help with processing.
Yeah.
And so we can connect them with the right processing platform for them.
Cool.
There's so many, it's hard to tell sometimes which would be the best fit. And we can help make them understand it because we've seen, especially here in Brazil, we've seen now countless Brazilians go through this process, and we know what they need. And that's pretty much what we do, who we are. We just want to be a conduit for Brazilian marketers that are doing amazing things to now go make money in countries that might have a slightly higher AOV or countries that might be less competitive as far as cost of CPM.
Cool. So before we start talking about like digital marketing, supplements, and all the high quality content stuff, I want to know, who is Alex, like besides business?
Besides business,
Yeah.
okay. I think first you have to start with child of God.
Cool.
That I'm a religious guy, and I believe that I believe in a creator.
Cool.
That endows all of us with worth and power, and we deserve big things. And I'm a father and a husband. I have 2 kids.
Cool.
My wife is Peruvian and speaks very, very little English. And so I'm actually fluent in Spanish. And so we live our day-to-day in Spanish, even though most of the time we're in the U.S. We live in Spanish. My kids are raised in Spanish. I have a 4-year-old daughter who is beautiful and amazing and full of energy. And then I have a 6-month-old son. Well, he turns 6 months tomorrow.
Cool, man.
I have a 6-month-old son. I like doing stuff like any sort of combative sports.
Yeah.
So I've wrestled for a long time. I was a wrestling coach, like freestyle and Greco, like Olympic wrestling.
Yeah.
And so I was trained to be a PE teacher, and became a PE teacher and a strength coach. And I've coached kids from all the way from 5-year-olds all the way up to the higher university level kids wrestling, and done a little bit of MMA. I had a fight, got knocked out in the second round with 1 second left. So I've stepped in a cage with another person and fought. And that's a very Brazilian thing, right? It's like you guys really made MMA what it is. And so I feel a little bit of connection with Brazil for that.
Cool, man. That's awesome. So one thing, we know like your wife is Peruvian, so it makes sense like Latin America. But why? How do you like started seeing digital marketing in Latin America and especially in Brazil? Like why it was?
Yeah. So I think the key to making lots of money is seeing opportunity at the right time.
Okay.
And a couple years ago, right, 2 years ago, I was the director of business development at Digistore 24, and I helped run the sales team. We had about 19 people on the team, And we were just interested. I hired a very like international staff. So we had Canadians, Mexicans, Italians, Brazilians, Colombians on the team. And I said, hey, like, we're trying to find new clients. Why don't we connect with some of these international clients that don't travel to events that we don't get to know? And so we reached out to a couple of Brazilians that were just clients. They weren't doing a ton of volume, but we just sort of emailed them. Yeah. And that started a conversation. And quickly we started to see that things were growing. In these moments of growth is when you get to be on the front side of the financial wave. Yeah. And so we said, let's invest time and attention in this market that may not be as big here, right? There was other people doing way more money and volume than the Brazilians, but we thought, let's be here, get to know and mentor them, and then as they grow, they'll grow with us, and we'll be the ones that they turn to. And so we started just seeing it, and it was very impressive, and it's become more and more impressive how quickly they've grown. I think that Brazilians have a really great ability to see what other people are doing, and follow steps. Cool. And so it seems like there's a guru who says, do exactly this, and there's a bunch of guys that are OCD obsessive, and they just say, okay, do this step, do this step, do this step, and then do this step, do this step, do this step, do this step, do this. And so because of that ability to just do what has already been done, they're being very successful. And it's really cool. I think also, like, marketing wise, I think Brazilians and Latinos come from a culture where everybody sells something.
Yeah, definitely.
It's much more likely to have a small business and everybody's a salesperson. Whereas in the US, you get a lot of bigger companies, and then you go and you're just an employee. You're not necessarily having to sell for your personal business to succeed.
Man, it makes a lot of sense. And like, it was brilliant because you could just say, oh, I will stay in the US, it's already working. Like, the Americans are selling a lot, and why would I go to Brazil? But your ability to see this opportunity, it's
personally, when you're a salesperson, right? And that's what I am. Is I'm a salesperson and a support structure. So I try to help people connect. Yeah. When you're trying to sell something, you have to look for your unique selling proposition. Yeah. What makes you unique? And I was in a space where there was a lot of people that were very good at networking, maybe had a head start on me, and I tried to find out what could I do that nobody else can do. Cool. And speaking Spanish, I was a unicorn. We say in English, right? I was a unicorn because I was the only white guy in the room. You'd go in a space and I would be the only one. And so everybody wants to talk to El Gringo.
El Gringo,
right? Everybody wants to talk to El Gringo. Uy. Everybody wants to talk to El Gringo. And so I thought this would be something that I can do that none of these other companies can imitate. My ability to not just speak the language, but also culturally relate to. Because having spent years in Mexico, being married to a Peruvian, I get what Central and South America are like culturally, and I can connect with people better. And so I like to call it being a day walker. Okay. And so if you're a comic book nerd or movies, there is the movie Blade with Wesley Snipes. And what Wesley Snipes is, he's a day walker. He's like half vampire and half human. So he's a vampire in strength and speed, and he can go in the sunlight, and that gives him extra powers. And so I looked for a situation where I would have extra powers. I can walk in two worlds. I connect with the Americans. I can talk with the biggest players there. I've been in rooms with a lot of the big names that Brazilians study. I've eaten with them, and they trust me because I'm an American. Yeah, I'm just like them. They don't think I'm trying to scam them. Whereas if they were to talk directly to a Brazilian or a Latino, sometimes they think, what is this guy trying to get from me? Yeah. And then at the same time, I can walk in a world where I'm with Latinos and I fit there too. And so I get this extra strength and power. And so I speak Spanish fluently. estou aprendendo português agora para falar melhor com meus clientes em português.
Mas você já fala bem.
More or less,
You're
more or
talking,
less.
yeah, you're talking.
In a
Yeah.
year, I'm going to be able to talk to Brazilians, and I'll be able to be a full day walker in Brazil. Right now, I'm
Cool.
sort of halvesies,
You have, yeah.
but I will get there.
Tell me a little bit more about your branding, like the hat and the shorts. Yeah.
So one of the things, like when you're branding, I was watching a great video by Alex Hormozy. That's how I got into internet marketing. Is I owned a CrossFit MMA gym.
Yeah.
And I was tired of it just being at 100 members. It could never get past 99.
Yeah.
And I saw some videos, and I saw a video of a gym that was in my area that Alex had helped. And I said, okay, I'm gonna spend it. And it was a lot of money. I was making, every month I made like $2,500, and it was $2,000. So it was like I would only have $500 extra. And so I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend this money and do it. But I was watching this video where he talks about branding and about how you should connect to things that get you like everybody associates the good things with. And so what my personal brand is, El Gringo Alex, right, is El Gringo Alex, or in Portuguese, I have a Portuguese page now, O Gringo Alex, is that I want to connect with people in their languages so that they don't have to try to translate. And I want to connect with them contextually with where they are at in their journey, because Brazil is at a different place than a lot of the American gurus are teaching to people who are in this place, and Brazilians might be here, or they might do things slightly different, so it wouldn't work. So I understand that, and I want to connect to them there, but I want them to also connect with me in America. And the American dream, it's one time heard a guy, Ariel Brolowski, he's an Argentinian, and he was talking about the American dream. And sometimes we hear this phrase American dream and we associate it with the United States. In the American dream, it's not the North American dream.
Yeah.
It is the American dream. Yeah. And so it should be North America, Central America, South America. All of us on this side of the world come from people that were adventurers, people that were pioneers, people that, like so many of us, right, in Brazil too, right, our forefathers got on a boat having never seen the place they were going to. Yeah. And they just had heard a story, and they had this dream, and they said, I'm going to take this risk and I'm going for it, right? And then like my family personally were some of the first pioneers. I have forefathers that came over on the first boats to the US.
Whoa.
Right? And they were there. And then a lot of people don't know, so I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which they call Mormons. And we were sort of persecuted in the East. Yeah. There was even a time where it was legal to kill a Mormon in the state of Missouri. Yeah. It was called the Extermination Order, and you could kill a Mormon and get away with it. And so our people then had to do the journey again, and we went to the West. We went to the West where nobody was in the West. We went to the desert, and we just like walked and said, here's another pioneering experience. And so like I come from people that are these dreamers, and I think I see that in Brazil, and I want that to be our personal brand.
That's really beautiful what you said. Like, it's not like North American dream, it's like the whole American dream. Yeah. It's really cool.
It was super inspiring. When I heard Ariel say it at this event, he was talking to a bunch of young Colombian marketers. Yeah. And it was wow, I'd never heard that.
Cool. Talking about like coming for like a business side, like digital marketing, how do you see like the difference between the US market and the Brazilian market like nowadays?
Okay, so there's a couple of differences. I think that talking about what Brazilians are doing inside of Brazil compared to what is happening outside. Inside of Brazil, there seems to be a little bit less rules. And so you can get away with a little bit more. In the US, we call it the wild, wild west. But back in the old days, anybody, right, you'd be in the West, and it was much harder to find law. There weren't as many police and sheriffs, so guys could just do what they wanted. And it seems like here, there's so much happening. It's so busy. There's no way that they can trap everybody. So a lot of people say you can have a product and say made in the USA, and it's not made in the USA.
Yeah, because like it's so I think in Brazil there's so much happening and so much trouble like with the big guys.
Yeah.
They don't have time to look for this. They're doing something like
Yeah.
in their eyes it's not that wrong.
And so one of the things that happens is when Brazilians then go internationally and they start working with these payment processors that are international, those processors across their platform do hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And so the government is watching them. And so they have to make sure that their users are following rules. And so there's this little change that comes through, like the compliance. The first time you go through a compliance process, you're like, I don't understand why.
Yeah.
The reason is, yes, the government might not come after you who's only doing $20,000 a month, but they will go after a business that is doing $300 million a year. And so that's a little bit different. I think that another difference between Brazilian marketing and the US marketing, I think that there's a tendency to focus a lot on the front end sale and not as much the fulfillment.
Okay.
With like an info product. I think that info products tend to be a little bit better in the US because of how easy it is to do a chargeback. It is insanely easy to do a chargeback, and so content has to be
Really good.
better, or the chargeback levels just like go up a ton. I think that Brazilian marketers may understand Facebook better than a lot of American marketers, a lot of American affiliates that I see.
Yeah.
Is I think that Brazilians' abilities to drive clicks is very high. And I think that a lot of that just comes from your guys' ability to observe and then going back to understanding like intrinsically. I don't think a lot of Brazilians don't have to learn salesmanship. Just you know it.
You know it.
And so they can couple those two talents together and do better.
Yeah, that's the thing I was talking yesterday with some guys. They came here. It was like some of the Brazilians they just have the feeling of the thing, you know. I don't know how, if they are born with this, but they learn like digital marketing and like doing like ads, and especially like the VSLs. It's crazy to see that some of them they have this magic. You know?
So there's a guy, Ryan Magan. A lot of people will know who Ryan Magan is. Ryan Magan, he did the social media for Alex Hormozi when he got big.
Yeah.
He does social media for Grant Cardone, who is huge.
Whoa.
So his agency supports a ton of people. And one of the things that he does when he tests his organic content, he first does it on TikTok.
Okay.
And if you go to TikTok and you go to his page, you will see the same video 5 times.
Really?
Each time with a different hook.
Okay.
Because TikTok doesn't penalize you
For posting
for like having a wall of the same content. Whereas Instagram, people will go to your profile and look at it. In TikTok, they won't go to your profile.
Yeah.
Right? And so you can just do it. And what he says is he tests everything on TikTok first because the audience on TikTok is younger and they need their attention grabbed now. And if not, they leave.
Yeah.
And so he'll test 5 or 6 hooks there, and then he'll know if it got the attention of these like 18 to 24-year-olds.
Yeah.
Then it will easily get the attention of a 30 or 40-year-old. And so then he'll put the winner on Instagram.
That's a great insight.
And Brazilian marketers tend to be younger than American marketers. For the most part, like there are a lot of good affiliates that are young in the US, but when I was working with a lot of marketers, they were all guys in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
And so they're more of the finished Instagram product. And they may not be as great with the TikTok, which younger guys, which is the Brazilian marketer right now in direct response, they understand, I need attention now. I need attention. If it doesn't grab their attention as a marketer, it's not good enough. And so that's maybe the reason they're beating some of these Americans.
Cool. In terms of like levels, do you believe Brazilians are gonna be soon in the same level of like knowledge and results as Americans, like talking about?
I think so. I think it naturally takes a while to disperse. And so what you see, most people I see is they're following a Brazilian guru.
Yeah.
And that Brazilian guru is a guru because he speaks English. And so he is able to then consume content in English, and then he says it's his content, and then he sells it to you, right?
Yeah.
When really he got it from that person. And so it takes this while for this American to put out the content, and then him to put out the content. And it just takes a while. It's starting to disperse faster because Brazilians now are leaving Brazil and going to international events, which I would say there's a period where in 3 years at events, I only met 2 Brazilians.
2 Brazilians?
In all my time in 3 years going to international events. And just recently at Affiliate World Dubai, I know of at least 10 to 12 Brazilians that went.
Yeah.
And now Affiliate World Budapest is coming up in September.
A lot of people.
And I know even more saying, I'm going to go to that. And now, rather than having to wait for some guru to give them the information, they're going to be talking to people. And typically the American guru, he gets the information late because the American guru, a lot of times, no longer does the thing.
Yeah.
He used to do the thing, started selling a product, and now his information is out of date. And so he has to wait for the actual person in the fields doing it to give him a tip. And then he gets a tip, and then he shares it, and then that guy shares it. Whereas now at events, you skip the guru part, and you go direct to another business person that is actively doing this right now. Yeah. And so you just eliminated 2 levels. So it will speed up. Where I think it is crucial, and I don't know if Brazilians will do this, right, is culturally in Latin America and in Brazil, more people come from nothing. Yeah. And when you come from nothing, daily you fight to eat. And it builds this mentality of I need to think about today, not tomorrow. And a lot of the bigger businesses that are successful in the US, they think far. And so they run less aggressive VSLs because they don't want the chargeback issues. Yeah. They don't want this issue. And so that will slow down your business. Whereas Brazilians, you can get as much money as I need now because I don't know if I'll make money tomorrow. And that has to break. I know that like a lot of guys who have no money, maybe you have to do something very aggressive to make money at first. But the minute you have extra money, you have to find a way to change your mindset from being make money today to
make money.
How am I making long money, right? Long money versus fast money. And so in the US, if you follow trends, guys right now, the big trend is to do what's called a roll-up. A roll-up. And so you get a lot of little businesses. So it really is because of Silicon Valley and the way investment companies are buying businesses. And so if you have one business and you sell it, you might get 3 times your, like they call it EBITDA, which is like a complicated calculation of how much you make plus costs and whatever, right? But it's like maybe you'll get 3x. But if you can put together 10 complementary businesses and sell all 10 at the same time, your gross volume is way more. And it has different parts. And so you can sell it instead of 3x, maybe you can sell it for 5x or 10x. And so it gets bigger. And so all these digital marketers first were running scammy stuff, which a lot of Brazilians are doing right now. Then they got more mature and they stopped running scammy stuff, but they ran like just one business, but it was really going to be one and done. This buyer's never going to buy a second product. Yeah. And then those guys, once they got to the top of that, said, well, now let me start building a brand that I get repeat buyers. I have an e-commerce site. I have organic content. And then once they did that, they sold that business. And when they sold that business, they then said, okay, now let me create or buy 10 businesses and sell them. And I believe this is the life cycle that Brazil will go through, where at first you're starting here and eventually we'll get to the point where guys are selling their businesses because now they've been doing this since they were 20. Yeah. They're 40. They don't want to keep like worrying about Facebook ads, and now they're getting bigger and into flipping businesses, and there's even more money in that.
Turning to real businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you about it. So when you're talking about like supplements and the offers all the Brazilians are doing, it would be like create a bunch of brands from different niches and sell all of them in a book, or you're talking about different businesses, not like brands, like products.
It can be both. It can be both. So right now I see two different types of Brazilians.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's others. Don't get me wrong, but the guys that I work with in direct response, this is what there are. There are two types. There are the types that are really just scammy. Like we've worked with people that they start selling stuff and they don't actually have a product done yet. And so then the person's waiting like 3 or 4 weeks to get a product, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of scammy. And then you have other guys who are just really running an aggressive VSL. That person's going to buy it once, but probably the promises were a little high,
Yeah.
and it was a little expensive, and so they're probably not going to come back to you. It was a purchase of the moment. What I think they will start doing now is partnering like with influencers. Like take a direct response brand and partner it with an influencer.
Yeah.
And so now you have an organic side. There'll be more e-commy, and that will get you the repeat guys. And then you'll also have this guy who drives sales. The numbers on this will come down, but the numbers here will go up, and you won't have to worry about constantly. Here you'll have more consistency.
And you build equity.
Yep, and you build the equity, and so you have this thing that's growing. And so you could pair together several complementary supplements that can cross-sell. And so if you have a blood sugar product, you should have a nerve pain product.
Yeah.
If you have a nerve pain product, right, you serve the consumer. And so what some guys will do is they get their front-end consumer, and then they start testing affiliate offers to their email.
Okay.
And they'll test different ones. And if they see a lot of their buyers also bought this affiliate offer, they then make a product in the same niche. And if you do it with a brand focus, there's like, hey, we serve 40-year-old whatevers or 60-year-old whatevers.
Yeah.
You do that brand, then it becomes sellable. And so that you'll have a bunch of little brands that you can sell. Other ways that you can flip your business is doing, hey, we have a telephone company that does telephone sales.
Okay.
And it services us, but it also services other clients. We have a email company that services us and services other clients. So it's its own business entity, but it services you as well as other clients. You have your own supplement. And so then that's really 10 separate businesses that could service other people as well.
So you can basically sell your ecosystem. So you have your brands, you have your email company, you have your you can sell in a book.
And you sell it all. And so these companies that buy, big companies buy because they want to accelerate their growth quick.
Yeah.
And so maybe they have, like right now, newsletters are really popular.
Yeah.
And so it's a newsletter. You have active subscribers in a big company that's like, big companies aren't great at reaching individuals. They're great at branding, but not marketing a lot of times. Like, how do I get one person in? And so all of a sudden now you have this company that has this newsletter as a part of your company. And they say, oh, if we bought your newsletter company, we would instantly increase sales.
Yeah.
Because we'll have control of that. And so they're buying like newsletters now for millions and millions of dollars. And so you can sell that separately or keep it together. And all of those things are big. And so that's what you see right now. Just if you look at social media, I talk about Alex Hormozi right now because he's just like super popular, but that's what he's doing, right? Acquisition.com. He's getting a little piece of everybody's businesses and helping them grow. Most likely with the ultimate goal of once he gets to $1 billion, saying, I'm going to sell this whole thing for 10x to a venture capitalist that wants to do that. And then if you look at, there's a lot of other Instagram guys that are doing this, and it's a huge way to grow and flip. And that's the reason everybody has like a SaaS now, because you want to have a SaaS because that's a separate business entity that you could bolt on to other companies and sell.
One question: How would you work creating like this brand with like affiliates in terms of, you know, how like in Brazil, a lot of guys, they don't sell with the vendor VSL. It's their own VSL. Do you think that's a good strategy to use affiliates to build this brand and grow, like you're saying, to flip the brand, or you think it's better to drive your own traffic?
Depends. It depends on what people are trying to buy, right? And businesses that depend on affiliates a lot of times, if they're only depending on affiliates, they're not really a business. They're a traffic machine.
Yeah.
And so that they can get traffic and go, but they don't actually own the affiliate. The affiliate, if you sell the business, they might not go. And like, I'll give an example. So I used to own a gym, and I sold my gym. We sold it after COVID. We were just tired of dealing with COVID as a gym, and so we sold it. I had members, and this other company bought it, and they did not follow what I thought was the best way to transition.
Yeah.
And so they sold it. And within a couple of months, they were down to only 30 members, which is losing money. They weren't making money anymore. They were losing it. And it's because when they bought the business, they did not own the members. And so there's the same thing with affiliates. Is if somebody tries to buy a business that depends solely on affiliates, the affiliates could leave and they could have just bought a business for nothing. And so affiliates is a great way to grow quickly and rapidly, and show investors want to see fast growth. So it will supplement, but you have to make sure you have a repeatable machine that they can own.
So
I wouldn't change.
You believe so the best way will be like use affiliates to get the first clients, like all the clients, but then once the affiliates bring these clients, we can make them like buy a lot of times, so we don't have to depend on the affiliates.
Yeah, so the biggest difference between direct response vendors in the US or internationally that sell in the US and those in Brazil is email marketing.
Okay.
Right? The biggest and the best vendors in the US that use affiliates don't make any money when the affiliate sells.
Okay.
They often lose money, but they know that for every buyer email they get, as they remarket to them later on, will be worth a certain amount of money.
Okay.
And so if I were growing a business with the goal of selling it, is I would use affiliates for fast growth to bring people into my top end funnel. And so I bring all these emails, all these people into my ecosystem, and then I have to make the money on the back end. And so the email marketing is very different.
Okay.
It's a lot of Brazilians say, well, like it doesn't work. And typically it's because they're doing email marketing again with the same style that they did this Facebook, which is like cash grab, get in, get out. If you just think of it like, I know a lot of your viewers are dudes, right? And so if you go to a girl and you're just like, hey, I want you, like, I want you to go out with me now. Like, is she just gonna go out with you? Like, she's not.
Yeah.
First, what do you gotta do? Talk to her pretty. Then you gotta maybe bring her a flower, and you gotta do these other things.
Yeah.
And then once she feels comfortable with you, then you say, hey, what are you doing on Friday?
Yeah.
And maybe this is an old guy who's just like knows stuff, but like most like these young guys right now are just like, here, let me do this quick with an email. And so that person doesn't feel confident with you.
Yeah.
You just sold them something overly aggressive that they feel like didn't work. And now you're saying, buy more from me? Like, why would I do that? I wouldn't buy from you.
Yeah.
And so there's tricks that people can do to try to take that same consumer. If you give them a aggressive offer on the front end and turn them into a trusted consumer. It takes time and it's hard. Yeah. Most of my clients work with a third-party partner who's experienced in this, but what you can do is you create a second list using like the newsletter idea. And so you send emails to your new buyer, but you do it from a different domain and they don't even know that it's coming from you.
Yeah.
And so they think that it's like this other newsletter. You have to try to get people to click on that. And it's hard to do it well because if you do it too aggressively, Google spams you and says you're spam. And so then you get them to opt into a newsletter by like, hey, I've got this free gift, whatever. I want you to take it and opt into this newsletter. And so then they opt into your newsletter. And then you do trusted marketing, long tail with the newsletter. And then you can remarket to your newsletter people over and over again. And so this way you could sort of combine both styles of aggressive Facebook and a trusted long tail email
Makes sense.
sort of way. It's just super hard. And so that's actually, so I'm starting to do like a little bit of content. The first thing that I'm going to do is bring more information about how Americans are using email, because it's getting harder and harder. Google this year alone has already twice changed how Gmail operates. And most Americans have a Gmail. And so they've already changed twice from what the rules were last year. And so it's very difficult. You have to stay up to date with it.
Yeah.
But then once you get it and you figure it out, it can be very financially. And now you have long tail clients that buy over and over again. This is a repeatable thing.
So that's amazing. Yeah, that's mind blowing, because you can basically create 3 different things. One side you can do like aggressive Facebook thing, Facebook ads, like aggressive VSL, and sell on the front end, and do the other blog thing, the newsletter, without your branding. And you can do like a more safe Facebook ads without like that ROI too high, but you can sell and you can do your own newsletter with your own branding and get like a lot of clients.
Yeah, it all depends on it, right? Is business is sequential.
Yeah.
Successful businesses are sequential, and they do the right thing at the right time. Yeah. And if they don't, it doesn't work. And so a lot of guys starting from nothing, you don't have the luxury. You have to eat today. Mm-hmm. You don't have the luxury of trying to grow a long tail business. Yeah. And so it's totally okay to start out more aggressive, and you're just trying to make your money. But once you make enough money, it's staying committed to the plan and saying, I'm actually going to make less money for a little bit, and then focus on transitioning into this other style. What happens is dudes, especially young dudes, get a nice watch, get a nice car, like to be on Instagram. And the only way to keep that lifestyle is consistent money in and don't have the time to long tail.
Yeah, man. So it that thing, like you start making money and you don't want to see like low than what you had last month. So they never stop doing what they're doing. And talking about like influencer, you said, how would you work with influencers? Like talking about supplement brands.
Yeah. So there's a couple of models. I think for so like a lot of people should look at Snow Teeth Whitening.
Yeah.
Which is a huge brand. And what they did, Josh Snow, right before COVID, like perfect timing, right before COVID, when e-com just like exploded, he like maxed out all his credit cards. I think he took like a mortgage out on a house. Like he just put all the money he could together, and he got a hold of one of the Kardashians.
Yeah.
And was like, here, I will give you all this plus a percentage if you promote Snow Teeth Whitening. And so it's just one of these, like, it's a tray with a light that you put a cream on, you put it in, it whitens your teeth. And she did it, and he exploded. And so then he partnered with Floyd Mayweather, Rob Gronkowski, who's a huge football player in the U.S., and he just partners with them. And so now he has them giving testimonials. And so that brings instant credibility.
Yeah.
And what's different is some of these viewers right now heard that and said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a Hey Gen copy of the star and do this thing, right?
Yeah.
Facebook is starting to do things to try to start blocking more and more of that. But also, again, it's not a long tail business. You can't flip it. And so you're spending all this time invested in growing something that in a year, the offer will die.
Yeah.
Or there's Brazilians now that I see their offer works for 3 months and then it dies. And so you're growing something. So what I would do is work with these influencers. You start with like micro influencers. And this is a really cool thing that Josh Snow does. Yeah. Is rather than having a budget for like Facebook guys who make Facebook creatives and say, hey, I'm gonna spend $20,000 on this, he goes to 20 small time influencers. So the type of influencer at the ground level that people trust because they don't usually sell things.
Yeah.
And he'll go to them and he'll reach out to them. They'll be flattered that a company wants to use them to promote because maybe it's never happened before or it's only happened once or twice. And he makes an agreement with them that, hey, I'm going to give you this money. I'm going to send you the product and you're going to promote it.
Yeah.
You're going to create, we need like 3 videos that are this style or whatever. And then you have to share it with us in collaboration. Mm-hmm. And then if one of those hits and goes viral, there's your Facebook ad. They then take that and run Facebook to it, because now they had 20 small-time people validate their idea at a cheaper cost rather than spending a ton of money on employees, rather than spending a ton of money on this, that, and the other. And that's sort of the rise of user-generated content, right? Is that they're doing that. And so then that's one way. Another way, the biggest person you should study is Dr. Gundry. Right? Dr. Gundry. Dr. Gundry is a serial direct response partner.
Yeah.
And so a doctor that has authority that partners with different direct response brands.
Yeah.
And so if you go on Twitter, my Twitter had just a ton of Dr. Gundry trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
And so you can do that. You can find stuff. There's brands that what they'll do is they'll go to doctor conventions and they'll just walk around the convention and look for an attractive doctor.
To just partner up.
And they'll find this attractive doctor and then they'll start talking to him and see if he can talk. And then they'll do a test and they'll say, hey, like, let's have you film a video. Can you film content? And then they'll say, okay, we'll give you this percentage of rev share. Stephen Georgie does it. They give him a percentage of rev share with a cap.
Okay.
So we'll give you this much up to this much money a month. And you have to do this many pieces of content for us. And then he just found somebody who's a legit doctor, who's good on camera and attractive.
Yeah.
And they get a small piece of the business. And now he's able to rely on their authority, and it's more trusted. And now he can sell a maybe more expensive product, a higher quality, and turn it into a long-term brand because he really is using authority. Those doctors don't give out their brand to something they don't believe in.
So it makes sense. Something I'm hearing in Brazil is like there are a lot of dudes, they don't study no more like copy. They're just doing what everyone is doing, and they're the market is really difficult to sell. Like the VSLs, they're not working for too long, and it's difficult. And I believe if they don't reinvent themselves, like the way you're saying, like we start working with like real doctors, you start like doing this brain thing, like email, working more on the back end, and working with affiliates. I believe you're not gonna last on the game, bro. Yeah.
One of the problems with our industry is that most people got into it because they saw somebody talk about make quick money easy.
Yeah.
And the problem is
that's the point.
The problem is if you want to make quick money easy, there's somebody else who's willing to make quick money working hard. And so, like the guys who want to live the lifestyle of, hey, I only work 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day. There's another dude who will work 8 hours a day and he will beat you. And so no matter what you're going to do, there's work. Like the idea of easy money is not true. There's easy money follows hard work. And so you work really, really hard. And then all of a sudden, timing, opportunity, everything align. And when those things align, the money happens really quick and feels easy.
Yeah.
But it's with all the hard work. And with Facebook, like VSLs, you've got to test and test and test. I know guys in the US that have done easily have done 30, 40, 50 million dollars in sales. And they will launch a new VSL and they will spend $15,000 just to record the VSL and edit it. And then on top of that, there was the copywriter that they had to pay another $15,000. And they spend $30,000 to $40,000 on a VSL and they will launch it and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so then they have to start the work. The launching of the VSL is not where work starts. The launching of the VSL is, you have to go.
That's a good question. Like you're saying they're spending $4,000 in a VSL. Do you believe there is still space for people who are starting now or start scaling now to play this game, or do you think it's just for the ones that are already doing a lot of money?
Marketers are like rats, right?
Yeah.
If a room starts to fill up with water, the rats will find a way out.
Yeah.
And when they feel the pressure. And so that's how we are, right? Is until a problem exists, we don't adapt. Is the market becomes harder and harder. Mm-hmm. I think people will find more and more ways to be successful.
Yeah.
And in different ways, because eventually consumers get tired of seeing the same thing, and you need a pattern interrupt. And some marketer that is small time, he is the one that will find the pattern interrupt. Big businesses only take bets on things that work.
Yeah.
Big businesses don't take bets on new ideas very often. They're like, the best do, but a lot are fearful. Yeah. And so it's the small guys like us that test things that don't work because we have no other choice.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we find one that does, and then it starts to work. And that's when the big brands take a notice and they will start doing what you're doing. Stephen Georgi talked recently about how he thinks in 2024 you're going to see a change in VSLs.
Okay.
Right? And so one of the things that he thinks is happening is that 90-minute VSL, people have started realizing, at first they didn't realize it was a VSL. They thought it was a real doctor talking to them about this problem. And so now every time they see a video like that, they shut off because they just feel like it's another trick. And he thinks that now VSLs are going to be 6 to 7 to 8 minute videos that are going to have to be compliant because they can't be cloaked. They're going to be on Facebook. So you actually make your VSL the Facebook video. Peter Kell has done a lot of this with Mastermind or with Mind Valley. All of their videos are 30-minute VSLs, but it is an organic Facebook video. You don't leave Facebook to watch the VSL. Facebook loves this because you're staying there. Why does Facebook want to reward you for a 40-second video that then gets somebody to click the lantern and leave Facebook? So give them your VSL in Facebook. It has to be compliant now. It can't be cloaked. And then he says you're going to drive it to either an e-com style checkout that is very simple, very clean, or to an advertorial that seems very official, like let me explain more in detail, but it's more of this is a news article style thing than to, again, a simple checkout. And he thinks that is the way most small people are going to have to go because these bigger VSLs, they're launching and not being successful. And big companies can keep throwing money to test and try new things with the VSL until it works.
Yeah.
Whereas smaller guys, we might be able to test for a little bit, but eventually the money runs out. And so that's what Stefan thinks. He also thinks that TikTok Shop right now is super undervalued. He thinks that spending attention on TikTok Shop it might be the easiest way to get a 1 to 50 ROI versus doing like the 1 to 5x ROI.
Yeah, dude, that's mind blowing. That this type of conversation we don't have in Brazil too much. Everyone is just talking about, oh, what's the mechanism is working and how can I be my VSL more scammy than it already is. And when you come here and you start talking about like a real business, like how you build a real business without having to lie to anyone, because that's the real thing today. There are a lot of guys just lying a lot. And as you said, the client, they just buy once and they never come back, and this is really bad for the business. And here in Brazil, as you said, they always think about fast money, so they don't see how bad it is. And they just start doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And I understand where people are coming from, where it's just like, I need money. Yeah, I need money because I've lived that. I've cashed out every one of my credit cards. I've like during COVID owning a gym, right? That's what I did. I owned a gym and I couldn't run. So I had $7,000 a month in rent for my facility. I was paying for coaches. And because of COVID, I would have 3 people come in the gym. And so I wasn't making any money. I was paying people. And I got into a horrible financial situation where I was paying so much money and not making any. And so afterwards, like, I wasn't paying for my car because I couldn't afford a car. I wasn't paying for nothing. So I was in this horrible situation. So I understand where it comes from. And there's a desperation that is in the back of your mind. Psychologically in the US, we call it the lizard brain, which is like your evolutionary brain that started back in the day when it was just like survive or die. And so it tries to protect you. Yeah. And so it gives you this desperation of like, I have to find money. And you have to break that. And it's a hard thing to do. the only ways to change from that mindset to an abundance mindset to a long-term, I'm going to take care of the client and everything else will work itself out. It requires you changing your environment.
Yeah.
It revolves a lot of time. Like I personally, I have a therapist that I meet with every other week. And then I have a business coach that I meet with once a week.
Cool.
And like that business coach really more than anything is like dealing with mental reprogramming of what will get you to here won't get you to there, to the next level. And so you have to reinvent yourself. And so working with him, not so much on business strategy, because you could watch any YouTube video and see what a Bezos did to start his business.
Yeah.
But it's how do you change your mindset to make it capable of doing that. And it's a very hard thing to do.
Definitely. Now, talking about Ego Labs, how can someone start selling supplements with you?
Bro, it's so easy. It's so easy. Right now, we're suffering growing pains because we have so many people that want to start because of how easy we make it. If you are a marketer and you know how to drive traffic and you have a sales page or a VSL or whatever, you can work with us.
Cool.
And so typically what we do is they start a conversation with us and they can work with us on white label, pre-made products.
Yeah.
Or they can work with custom products, which is like custom formulation.
Cool.
Most people starting out because of the order of operations start out with white label.
Yeah.
Find out what works, find out what you're good at selling, and then once you figure that out, then you can say, let me make something custom that nobody else has. But we give you the product, you select it, you help us figure out sort of what price you need or what volume you need,
Yeah.
and then we'll give you a quote. And we say it'll be this much a bottle, shipping will cost you this much. Typically, we ask for a small deposit that is to cover the cost of the labels. It's not buying the product, just the labels. You start your sales, you pay us the week after. So every Monday, you pay us for the previous week's sales.
Cool. Yeah.
And of course, you're going to keep selling us paying us because if you stop paying us, we don't deliver any more product. And so you're losing money. And we help you that way. And then we plug you in with our ecosystem of support structures to optimize your sale. And so we'll do the drop shipping. We send it. We can go internationally. Anywhere that DHL can go, we can go. We do have warehouses in Holland for Europe, in Florida on the East Coast, and Utah in the West of the United States to cut your costs down. And internally within Mexico, we have a warehouse so that things don't have to cross the border and it gets slowed up there. Colombia is coming next. But then to optimize your sales, you can plug in with our phone team, which will do two things for you. It will do proactive sales where they reach out and try to sell the abandoned cart. They also do customer service. And what's important about customer service is people will call for refunds.
Cool.
And we will talk them out of the refund. Like, let's give you a refund of 20% and you don't have to send the bottles back.
Okay.
And so now maybe you sold $180 worth of product. You now have like $150 that we say $50, you made $50 because you would have lost $180 without us. And so we made you $150. And it's very easy because that's on a rev share. So you don't even have to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's just we take a small percent and you get the rest and we just send you a check every week. We're regularly sending guys like checks for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 checks just every week that they can reinvest and they don't have to do anything. And it's super nice. And then emails, we can monetize your email by sending the best affiliate offers. And it's one, we have people that understand email, and two, because of the volume, they get to test a lot.
Yeah.
And they can test to segments of the list to see what is the best headline, what is the best body, what is the best product. And then they'll send out to the whole group, right? They'll test in the morning and then send out to the whole group slightly later, all of the winners, and it can help make you more money. And you can use those services, or if you have some of those services already figured out, that's great. Use those services and just let us provide you with the supplement. We're able to do it at a pretty cheap cost because we are the manufacturer.
Yeah.
And a lot of drop shippers aren't the manufacturer. They get stuff from other places. whereas our company was a manufacturer before we were a drop shipper.
Yeah.
And so we can make the product for you. And what that does is it eliminates one mouth. We don't have to pay manufacturer, drop shipper, you.
Yeah.
We just pay us and them. And so it makes it much easier to get a better price and be more competitive, again, to reinvest when we know every cent counts with the rising cost of CPMs.
Yeah, cool. So if you want to work with Eagle Labs, we will have a link here downside on the video so you can talk to Alex and his team and work with them, because I work with them personally and they're really good. They're really great. And how can we find you on Instagram and
so in Spanish,
Yeah.
most Brazilians right now follow me in Spanish, El Gringo Alex G.
Okay.
But we're making a page now in Portuguese, O Gringo Alex G.
Cool. Yeah.
And in that, like, my goal with that is to provide high level content from what's working internationally in the US.
Cool.
Without trying to sell you a course, because that's the problem, is like most gurus are trying to sell you a course, and so sometimes because they want you to, they hold back. They only give you the information that benefits them, and they want to keep a little bit for themselves because they don't want other people to know everything. Whereas me, I want you to sell as much.
Yeah.
I want the market to be as competitive as humanly possible,
Yeah.
and that will make you buy more bottles from us to sell.
Yeah.
And it's definitely what we're going to try to put out and just help you guys.
Cool. So thank you, Alex,
For sure, man.
coming to the podcast. It was a pleasure, like a high level content, something we really don't talk in Brazil, and we will start talking now.
Let's do it, man. Let's change it.
So let's do it, man. Thanks. So guys, see you next week on the next Chris Greg podcast. Yeah. Thanks for watching.